Welcome back to the Sick Podcast, Recruits Draftcast. For a special episode, we have a very interesting guest, that being Mike Oak, the general manager of the reigning OHL champions, Peterborough Petes. We'll get to him in just a moment. Now, if you're a Habs fan, I think this episode is going to be pretty interesting because, as you know, prospect Owen Beck plays for the Petes, so we'll get to talking about that as well. So let's get started.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Recruits Draftcast.
And with the first overall selection in the 2023 NHL Draft, the Chicago Blackhawks are very proud to select from the Regina Pats, the Western Hockey League, Connor Bedard.
The sickest NHL draft and scouting podcast. It's gonna be sick.
As always, I'm your host, producer Shane, joined by the magnificent Grant McHagg. And why don't we bring him along? General manager of the Peterborough Petes of the OHL, Mr. Mike Oak. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us, Mike.
No problem. Great to be with you today, guys.
Hey, Mike.
Right on. So, Grant, I know you have some burning questions on the tip of your tongue. So why don't you start us off here?
Well, first of all, I got to, hearty congratulations for winning the OHL title last year. That was
fantastic.
It was, to put it mildly, I guess, a bit of a surprise given how strong Ottawa looked last year. But you guys just came together in the playoffs, and maybe just talk a little bit about how it all unfolded for you.
Well, it might have been a surprise to people outside of Peterborough and outside of our team, but it certainly wasn't a surprise to us. We knew that we had a solid core. We knew we had the opportunity to add some pieces along the way. And after the trade deadline, we knew it was just a matter of giving everybody the opportunity to get acclimated to Peterborough, acclimated to our systems, and that, we felt real strongly that we would be a team that would contend for the title, and knew that in order to do that, we were going to have to beat some pretty good hockey teams in the Sudbury Wolves, in the Ottawa 67s, and then North Bay and London in the OHL Championship. And, not unlike the year that we were, shut down because of COVID in 2019-20, it appeared that we were going to be on a collision course with Ottawa that year as well. And both ourselves and Ottawa over the past number of years have had, some pretty good teams, some good success. And I think we've, come to enjoy a real strong rivalry.
Oh, that rivalry goes back at my early days of watching the OHA, back when Bobby Smith and the boys were playing for the 67s, and lost a couple of times to the Peterborough Petes in the playoffs, and it was a bit of an upset that year too. So I know full well what all about the rivalry. It used to be probably the best one in the OHA.
Yeah, you know what? We certainly our rivals are probably our biggest rivalry, and some would say it might be the biggest rivalry in all of hockey is Peterborough and Oshawa. Only being 45 minutes up the road, and so many different talented players over the years come up through each of the team's organizations. But over the past couple of years, we've definitely built a pretty strong rivalry with the folks down in Ottawa.
It's they say it's a bit of a thin line between success and failure sometimes. And I mean, you went out on a limb, you traded Nick Lardis at the trade deadline. And if I'm not mistaken, he had the second most goals other than Connor Bedard after he changed teams among all junior players. You didn't really improve in the standings. You ended up with a pretty tough first round matchup with Sudbury. I mean, you put your job on the line, I think, really, and it paid off. But there must have been, going into that series, like, were you thinking, if we don't win this series, I better update my resume or what?
Well, you know what? The one thing you have to know about working in hockey is you need to keep your resume updated almost on a daily or weekly basis, because you never know what to expect. But, we felt so strongly about our group, and when we were, having the discussions, in meetings and deliberations right out of training camp about some of the players that we wanted to target and potentially add to our group. We knew that in order to do that, we were likely going to have to give up some good players. When you give up young, talented players like Nick Lardis, you know that, hey, it's going to help us here and now. We're gonna miss them, in the coming seasons. But you only have a short window in junior hockey to really take a run at it. We felt our best window was last year. And with the number of quality veterans we had, some of the other younger players that we knew would be able to help support last year's group and at the same time get an opportunity to step up into bigger roles this year. Despite not wanting to move a player like Nick Lardis or Jack Van Volsen or any of the other players that we had to move, along with a number of draft picks, we just felt that the opportunity for us to win a championship and put ourselves in a position, there's no guarantee, and that we had to take that chance. And you mentioned about Sudbury. I think it was, potentially a team that, maybe we didn't match up with well and whatnot, but our players came together. It was, despite being a 4-game sweep, it was a real hard-fought series. And certainly I think that helped prepare us for, the upcoming series that we faced against Ottawa, North Bay, and eventually London.
What do you think of the Dvorsky news today? I got London or Sudbury is going to be pretty tough this year, I think.
Yeah, you know what? I think, if I was to be honest, I think it looks like they've kind of, modeled some of the things that we did leading up to our 2022-23 season. It looks like they've tried to build their team kind of similar to us, and certainly adding a player of his quality is going to substantially help them in their quest to win a championship. Again, it's early. Lots of things have to go your way. You need a little bit of luck. There's no doubt about that as well. But certainly when you are able to add a quality player like that, it's a no-brainer. They're going to be put in a spot where they're going to have to move out a quality player. And I know that they'll take their time and they'll make the decisions that they feel is in the best interest of the Wolves.
Yeah. Sorry, Shane. I still got a couple more here, and then we'll let you. I could talk to him all day. Yeah. Now, 2 years ago, you moved Mason McTavish at the deadline, and then the next year you win the championship. Like, typically, when you make a move like that, because you get a lot of draft picks and stuff, it's a couple of years before you're contending. But you were able to turn it around in 1 year. I've noticed in recent years, teams that are, like Mississauga was in the middle of the playoff race last year, and they made the decision to move, their big guns, Bella Blues, Owen Beck, and the defenseman. I don't know what your plan is, and I'm sure you're not going to reveal, exactly or whatever. But if you're not a top 4 team going into the playoffs at the trade deadline, are you going to consider maybe moving some? Like, how do you go about that? How do you, make that judgment call? Like, let's say you're second place. It's going to be tough. It wouldn't make sense for you to turn around and trade back at the deadline, no matter what kind of package you get back.
Yeah, you know what? I think constantly that's the job of the general manager and in consultation with the coaching staff and other people in the hockey operations. You're constantly evaluating, your individual players and collectively your team to see where you're at. And then as you move forward, each and every day you take a look and say, hey, if we can add this guy, maybe it's going to make us a little stronger. If we move this guy and acquire this other younger player, maybe it's going to help us have more of an opportunity, down the road. And again, I go back to the 2019-2020 season. We felt we had built a real strong team. We felt we were just hitting our stride heading into the playoffs. We felt we were strong up the middle, strong in on defense, and in goal we had Hunter Jones, and we felt really confident about that group, and unfortunately we didn't get to see it through. And then, as you mentioned, the next year we didn't play, and then the following year, we came to the resolution that, hey, you know what? It doesn't look like this is going to necessarily be our year. We had a player like Mason McTavish that was highly sought after. We just felt that if we could make a move that would help us in the following year, that made more sense. And that was the decision that we came to. And, and when you move a top end player like a Mason McTavish, you're going to get some good young players back as well as some draft picks. And so we utilized those young players to add some more veteran players. And then we utilized the draft picks in such a way that we didn't necessarily use them for selection, but we pushed them down the road so that we could use them for trades. So, a lot of people or the casual fan may not completely understand some of the behind the scenes things that have to go on, the planning, knowing what you're going to need in order to acquire different players, knowing what you need to do in order to make sure you have the assets that you're going to need in order to make the moves that you want. But certainly the job of the general manager is I always say, to you have to keep an eye on the here and now, but you also have to keep an eye on the future. And sometimes they conflict, and that's where you need the strong support from your coaches and ownership and other members of the hockey operations to make sure we're all on the same page and we're all trying to accomplish the same thing. We want to win a championship. It's not possible to do that each and every year, but when it is possible, you want to make sure you're in a position to be able to compete for it.
So if you're in a top 4 spot going into the trade deadline, you're going to keep Owen or what?
You know what? Right now, we don't have any plans on moving anybody. We like the group that we have, and as you move forward, the old saying is, never say never. Wayne Gretzky was traded, and that's good enough for me to say that it's possible that anybody would potentially be moved. But our focus right now is on the group we have here. Despite losing so many players to graduation. 6 games in, we feel we're off to a pretty decent start. But each and every game is a challenge. We know that, we're the reigning OHL champions. So every time the puck drop, the opponent is keen on knocking us off our perch. So our players, our coaches, everybody in the organization, we have to be ready to go each and every night. And so far we have, but we certainly know there's going to be lots of challenges as we move forward, and we'll just take it one day at a time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you said, it's a good start to the season, right? 4-2 in 6 games, and you got a guy like Jacques Dubois who got 10 points in 6 games already. So that's always a good thing. But having won the OHL championship, having gone to the Mem Cup, obviously not completing the mission, but that experience alone, how much do you think that could help for moving forward this season?
Well, it helps the whole pile. We've got some veteran guys that now can say that they've been there, they've done that, so they can help utilize their experience for other players. Some of the other younger players on last year's team have now moved up. They were there. In some cases, they would have been in games. In other cases, they would have been watching from the stands. And now each of those groups of players have a little different role, and they can lean on the experience that they observed firsthand from a long playoff run, from attending the Memorial Cup, what has to take place behind the scenes in order to have success. They also have a true appreciation that you need contributions from everybody in the lineup. Even those players that aren't in the lineup, you need contributions from everybody in order to have success. And that's one thing that the players on our group right now, they were, involved in that firsthand. And also, they also know, what they need to do to help bring along some of the other younger players. And that's valuable as well. So, so far, so good here. Again, the players, they came back with a great attitude of not wanting to be the team that, won a championship and then disappeared the following year. They came back with the idea, we want to show everybody why we are reigning OHL champions.
you named a captain, but didn't name assistant captains. Can you maybe explain a bit? I guess you have some guys still, maybe overage guys you got to get sorted out, and Owen Beck coming back after the season, after your regular season started. So you weren't probably 100% certain on that happening. So maybe can we expect to see Owen wearing an A perhaps?
Well, you know what? Owen's a terrific young player, both on and off the ice, hardworking player. So he's a great example of, what a young player needs to do in order to be his best within the team concept. Obviously, he's got the experience of playing at the World Junior tournament and winning gold. He's obviously got the experience now of not only being to an NHL camp, development camp, training camp, some preseason games, but fortunate enough to have actually played in regular season NHL games. So he brings a lot of experience to our group as far as, what you need to do in order to play at the next level. And he's definitely one of the players that, is looked upon as a leader. When we were making some of the decisions as we prepared for the upcoming season and the current season, the one player that, in our opinion, without a doubt is kind of the player that's viewed as a real strong leader among the leaders that we have was Donovan McCoy. And knowing what his situation was and being situated here, we felt at the end of the day, he was likely to be our captain no matter what happened as far as players coming back or not coming back. So we named him the captain with the idea that we still have a little bit of tinkering to do with the roster, not knowing who could come back, whether it be overage or just come back from some of the NHL camps. And so we've taken the approach that we'll let things settle here, and then at the appropriate time, we'll make the announcement about formally naming some assistant captains. But to this point, each and every player on the team has shown a tremendous amount of leadership in their own rights. And, a lot of the players, they don't necessarily have to have a letter on their jersey to be regarded as one of the leaders of our group. And so far, they've all taken that approach and done a terrific job.
Now I was talking with Al Latang about a month back, and he told me that it was his understanding that they had landed Owen Beck at the trade deadline last year, and then he ended up just going up the road from where he hails from in Peterborough. I don't know if that was the deciding factor for him or not, but maybe whatever you can reveal about just how difficult it was to land Owen last year with several suitors after him.
Well, when you have a player of Owen's caliber and ability, every team in the league is going to want to have him as part of their organization, no doubt about it. And in order to make that happen, though, as I mentioned earlier, you got to give up some talented players and assets in order to do that. And over the course of the season, prior to Christmas, lots of discussions with lots of different teams about players that we would have interest in. And each year, and again, right now, we look at the rosters of other players, other teams, and identify some players that, hey, if we had an opportunity to add that player to our mix, how would it help us, and how would it improve our group? And Owen was one of those players that we had identified, and leading up to Christmas, certainly I had expressed an interest to the folks in Mississauga that if Owen became available, we would have some serious interest in him, and I would completely understand the type of assets, both player wise and draft picks, that I would have to give up in order to make that a fit. And after a lot of long deliberations here and lots of lengthy discussions with the folks in Mississauga, we were able to provide a package of players and picks that Mississauga was comfortable with, and so it was great to add Owen to our group at that point, along with a couple of other players. And certainly Owen was probably one of the more well-known names. But we added some other players too, A couple of guys from Hamilton who had championship pedigree, having played with the Bulldogs the year before, and Avery Hayes and Gavin White. And then we also acquired a fella from the Saginaw Spirit that kind of, I think, flew under the radar, and Cam Govro. And Cam is a player that no-nonsense defenseman that, really helped secure a physical presence on the back end and some depth. And if you're going to take a long run in the playoffs, you need depth. And as I mentioned, you need contributions from all aspects of the roster. And those players that we added did just that.
Right. And Owen, I mean, you brought him in. He's pretty heralded. He almost made the Canadians in training camp the previous year. Early second round pick. He gets brought in, and he gets asked to center the second line. Now, did he? How did he? Did he buy in from that right from day one, or was he? I mean, the team didn't really gel right away, and I don't know if it took him a little while to adjust to the fact that, hey, why am I playing behind a guy picked in the mid rounds? At center, it just seemed like the team took a while to gel, and I don't know. Did that have anything to do with maybe Owen having to accept his role, or was he pretty well on board right from day one?
No, Owen was on board right from day one. I mean, and all the players were. When you make some of the changes that we made, and again, keep in mind, we had 4 or 5 players going out and 4 or 5 players coming in. It takes just the daily routines are different for each of those players, so it takes time to adjust. It takes time to adjust to, off the ice, new surroundings, new routines for practice times, new workout routines, new pregame, postgame routines, a lot of change. And it does take time to gel and come together. And with regards to the makeup of our lineup, in all honesty, more often than not, it's the media and it's maybe friends and family and players that label lines 1, 2, 3, 4 or defense pairings 1, 2, 3, and I think teams, general managers, and coaches they look at it as a collective unit and not necessarily lines 1 or lines 2, 3 or 4. We look at it from the standpoint of which 3 players are going to play the best together, which 3 players have skills that complement one another the best. And, when you're playing an opponent, which of the players and which of the lines are going to be most likely to A, have success against the opponent, or B, keep the opponent at bay. And each and every game, each and every series is a little different, a little unique. And so, we felt that, from lines 1 through 4, each and every night, we were comfortable with the group we had, and the defense pairings, same and same in net. We were confident in our group as a whole and knew that, hey, we'll find our way. For sometimes some teams, it just takes a little bit longer, and that was the case with us. But we were real confident that we were going to be able to hit our stride and not know if we were going to win a championship, but we felt we'd give ourselves, an opportunity to do that.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Beck played with Stillman quite a bit, and you must have been, coach was comfortable having those guys match up against top lines on the other teams because of their two-way physical play, right? And I think it really came through in the playoffs when those guys really shone when it came to shutting down other teams' top lines.
Yeah, I think our philosophy here is, we want to take care of our own end first. Be strong in our own end, move the puck up the ice. Be responsible in all 3 zones, and also make sure that we're physically wearing other teams down. Our rink is a little bit smaller than the traditional ice surface. so there's less room to make plays. And if we can use our size and strength to our advantage in our home rink, that'll give us a chance right away. And then knowing that you're wearing down the opposition, especially as series go deeper and longer, that, it's going to be to our advantage to make sure that, we play the system, stick with the system, and make sure we have faith and trust in everybody, whether you're in the lineup or whether you're in the stands. And as we noted, in the deciding game, unfortunately, Owen Beck, for instance, he'd been suspended, and so we had to get into that game without Owen. And
That's right. Yeah.
But we did have some other players that were in the wings, ready to jump in and fill his spot. And as much as Owen wanted to be in the lineup that game, like everybody would, he was right there cheering the guys on from the opening face-off until the time we were out on the ice and be able to lift up the OHL championship trophy.
Yeah, we lost Shane there. It looked like he'd fallen asleep at one point, but I've been informed that his computer froze. So
we put the Peterborough freeze on him.
Yeah, that's it. But Owen, I noticed the other night, your team had 60 face-offs and he took 31 of them. So I'm going to presume that he's going to be relied upon to be a pretty pivotal centerman on your team this year that takes all of the important draws.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway. I mentioned earlier about being strong up the middle is key, and part of the reason that's key is the face-offs. You want to start with the puck, and if you're starting with the puck, in your own end, it means there's less chance of having a scoring chance against. And if you're starting with the puck in the opposition end, then there's more of a chance you're going to get a scoring chance for yourself. And so one of the things that really attracted us to Owen was the fact that he was so strong on the face-off circle. That that's so key in today's game is starting with the puck and puck possession, and certainly that's something I know that he takes a lot of pride in, and I know it's something that our coaches and our team really focuses in on. And so when you have a player that can do those things, boy, it sure doesn't phase you if you have to take an icing and know that you're going to have somebody out there that more likely than not we're going to retain possession of the puck.
Yeah, well, he's a great face-off man, and the Canadiens can use that down the road. Speaking of which, what do you, having seen him close up last year and the start of this year, what would you project? I mean, being as a former scout too, what would you project his NHL upside to be, do you think?
I think Owen is the type of player that's going to be a real dependable two-way 200-foot player, somebody that can really potentially play in all situations depending on what the makeup of the roster is, somebody that can move up and down a lineup, can be counted on in all three zones. And I think the word that comes to mind is versatility. And if you're a general manager, one of the things that you really enjoy having is having a player or players within your team that can be versatile. So that hey, if there's an injury here or an injury there, maybe this player can step in and fill the void. Or if someone's struggling, you got a particular player that can eat some minutes up in a different aspect of the game that maybe isn't being used presently. And so the one thing I think with Owen, the fact that he's so strong on face-offs, the fact that he's physically strong, he's got a real solid frame on him,
Yeah,
and good IQ, that he's somebody that can play in a lot of different situations based on the needs of the team and that particular, whether it be season or whether it be that particular game.
so fair to say that if you said that a middle line center potential, that wouldn't be far off for you.
No, I think that that's a pretty accurate statement, and that's the type of player that can move up and move down, and not really you're not going to feel the effects of it either way.
He is so good on faceoffs. Do you? Montreal's got some good. I mean, Kirby Doc obviously got hurt. They've got Suzuki. They have some other centers. Oliver Kapanen's a really good prospect who might actually fight with Owen for a middle line center spot down the road. Now, could you see him, despite being so good on faceoffs, playing on the wing, even at the pro level?
Yeah, I think that's a possibility. But having said that, I mean, I think in today's game, the positions are more or less, F1, F2, F3, and that's the way strategies and systems are utilized. And at the end of the day, the center is really only the center for the face-off. And when you do have somebody that is as proficient in that area of the game as someone like Owen, I would think that down the road, they're going to want to make sure they utilize that skill and that asset that he brings to the group. Yeah. Either in the primary position or the secondary. He might be that second forward that's put out on a face-off, knowing that if the first guy gets kicked out,
that's right.
They're really not going to miss a beat with having to have Owen go in and take the face-off.
I don't think, and I mean, we see it with the Doc injury. You can't have too many centers in the lineup. They can always play on the wing and be interchanged, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, that's, and I think that's one of the strengths that Owen brings. Again, I use the word versatility. I think that he would bring that versatility to the next level.
How far away do you think he is? Do you think he can perhaps rest an NHL spot next year?
Well, I know that, with each organization, the dynamics of the roster, the salary cap, where they're strong, where they have some openings, changes from team to team. But certainly Owen has already demonstrated that he's a legitimate NHL prospect. I mean, he's played, as we mentioned, in the game last year, and knowing that he's going to have a chance to be a key player this year again in the OHL, be a key player, I would presume somebody that, Hockey Canada is going to be counting on to be a member of the World Junior team at this upcoming 2024 World Junior Championships. Those additional experiences are only going to help make him a better player. And I know Owen in his competitive nature. He'll prepare, as he did this year, heading into his NHL camp to be a full-time player at the NHL level with the Habs, and so he's got an opportunity this season to continue to hone his craft and improve and improve in the areas that you need to make sure are efficient, effective. And so that when he does have the opportunity to earn that full-time spot in the NHL, he can make the transition as seamless as possible.
Nice to have you back, Shane.
Nice to be back. The issues are a part of the business. We just roll with them.
Just one final question. I presume that you were expecting Owen to be part of the World Junior team right from day one, this upcoming World Juniors?
Yeah, I would assume so. I mean, I think last year, I think it was a group that, they had to make some difficult decisions at the end, and Owen wasn't included initially. And then when they had some injuries, he was the first call and on the flight out the next morning. And I think he played an integral part. Again, somebody that came in a little bit late, but did so and was able to jump in rather seamless. I would anticipate again this year that Owen will be somebody that Hockey Canada will be counting on being, not only a member of the team, but somebody that they're going to be expecting some key contributions from. And when I say key contributions, it doesn't always necessarily mean you got to fill the net. We've already talked about the importance of face-offs, the importance of strong defensive zone play. I think that Owen has the opportunity to contribute to a team in many different ways. And I know that Alan Latang and the coaching staff will make sure that, they have players that, are able to best utilize the skills for the collective good of the team. And Owen is somebody that I'm sure will get consideration for a number of different roles within the hockey club.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you on, Mike, and you've spoken eloquently about many subjects, and I really appreciate it.
Well, it was nice being with you, Grant. Shane, nice for you to drop in here just as we wrap things up. And I don't know if it's just I mentioned while you were on vacation there that maybe we put the Peterborough freeze on you or something, but it's a pleasure joining you guys, and look forward to seeing you guys at the rink down the road.
Right. Best of luck the rest of the way, Mike.
Yes, sir. Thanks for coming on, Mike.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that about wraps it up, folks. Thank you for being patient with me. Again, a little improvisation there by Grant. So thank you for taking the helm while I was out trying to fix my little issues here. My computer decided to die. And I revived it. So we're back. We are back. But thank you for tuning in, folks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, tell the algorithm that you like this channel, and we like you back. So you know what I mean? It's a two-way street here. Go follow us on our socials at NHL Draft Pod on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. And obviously, don't forget to subscribe to recruits.ca. There's something for everybody there, whether you're a Habs fan or just a hockey fan looking to get some information about the upcoming draft. Grant has some fantastic stuff on recruits.ca. So don't forget to go check that out. Grant, as always, thank you for joining me. Thank you to Mike Oak, and best of luck to the Peterborough Petes this season. And we will see you all next Wednesday. Take care.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, Recruits Draftcast on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.